Okay, we can start.
All right, we're back. And back with us from Tales of the Wild North is Jay Bird.
Howdy.
So, how was Alaska, brother?
Cold and wet.
Cold and wet?
Yep.
Was it like what you expected, like in your brain? Like,
not really.
I was afraid of that. But like as the country, like
country. We were in really thick spruce and willow on a river, like a big river, real silty.
Okay.
Full of beavers. There's probably 1,000 beavers per square mile. I'm convinced.
Brush.
Yeah, brush.
Like northern Maine, like Canada.
It reminded me so much of Maine, honestly.
I can picture this now.
Big spruce patches here and there. Really,
like floating bogs, like that peat moss.
Yeah,
like
tons of slough. Like the thing that was really wild was their duff layer. Like the ground with all the pine needles and everything. It's so thick. Like like when you get into the cedars, sometimes around here, like you kind of feels like you're stepping on pillows.
Yep.
It's like endless there. Everywhere you step is just like cushiony and soft, which made it pretty hard to hike through. It'd wear you out quick.
Yeah. I complain about the huckleberry brush here dragging your feet down. That's like nonstop, your legs.
Yeah, and we never really hiked that much. The farthest we ever hiked was 200 yards from the boat. You couldn't, and one thing that I've learned over the years, if the guide tells you like, hey, this is how you should do it, you're gonna listen to him, and the guys that typically don't listen don't have the right experience. And he told us to go in to the sloughs, get to where you can just about not hear the water running behind you anymore, and set up and call from there.
Soft calling setups.
Yeah, or it was more blind calling, rather than like the soft calling. It's like we did mostly raking, and pretty aggressive.
Okay.
The bulls that we did call in responded to the raking the best. It was awesome. Like, so right before we left to fly out from the airport pond, one of the guides that we were talking to, kind of just trying to get as much more information as we possibly can.
What'd you use for raking? Because I know there's some cool things guys use.
Yeah, so he goes in the shed, grabs a an aviation oil jug, and tells us, cut it right here. Gave us some wire and some tape, and said, get a willow stick and wrap it up. And so we did that on day one, and it immediately worked. So
thrash and brush.
Yeah, immediately worked. We called a bull into 15 yards. It was sublegal. It had Tucker and I so jacked up. We were just that's the only thing we did. We were like, screw everything else, this works.
So they're beating the hell out of brush.
Yeah, and we ended up calling in maybe I think like 5 bulls the whole week.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
Tucker ended up killing a big one.
Yep. Yeah, we don't. What did he say? So the guide pilot was saying it was well over Pope and Young. He was thinking it's going to score like 180. He thought.
Nice.
And we have no idea. We the biggest thing for us, it had to be 50 inches wide, or have 4 brow tines. So when that thing came through, after we seen some sublegal bulls around like 45 inches, it looked like an absolute giant to us. It was about, I think it was like 65 is what we thought it was whenever we taped it out, but we're not experts at all.
That's awesome.
It's a miracle we saw moose, let alone killed one.
It's funny. So you got to tell us about the pack out.
Yeah, pack out wasn't bad at all, really. Like I said, we were only like 200 yards from the boat.
So what are like the requirements? Don't you have to pack out pretty much everything on that sucker?
Yeah, pretty much. Like everything you read and you see and people tell you, like you can't have a softball size amount of meat left on your animal, or they'll take it from you. Especially if they're having a bad day. The game warden wants to be a dick. You can, just go over there and look at some belly fat or belly meat. That's on the hide, and we scraped it all. We really did. We spent 6 hours cutting that thing up and sitting there meticulously just scraping meat off. We were so afraid about it getting destroyed by these little gnats. Her faces were swollen. It was nuts.
So how much meat did you end up getting off of it?
We carried 640 pounds of meat back to the boat. That's what.
Is
got
that
flown
meat?
out.
Does that head and horns too?
No, just meat. Yeah, and the head was probably the worst part, especially for Tucker. I didn't have to carry it, thankfully. Getting through the willows, my job the whole time was to stay behind him and pull brush off him. I mean, it looks so miserable for him.
Oh.
It was harder than the front and the rear quarters, and those things were probably closer to 140, I think.
So other than being stuck in the middle of nowhere with the cool experience and adventure, being up there sucks.
Oh, absolutely. Like, if you just went up there to go up there, it'd be terrible. Rains every day. We had borrowed your...
that solar.
The
Solar.
Yeah, the solar panel. I think I seen the sun for 1 hour the whole time we were up there. I don't know how many days. It was over maybe 14 days or so that we were back there. Yeah, so we were definitely running low on juice for the inReach and the phones. So we were conserving it the best we could. I think the best thing to have would be like a hydro charger would be perfect for something like that, especially being on the river.
Yeah, my cousin, we used one of those one time. It was like a little windsock that you threw in the river. It was pretty cool.
I think that'd be
So
perfect.
did you have to turn the lips and the ears? Did it take you like a while after you got the animal like to get out? Like, were you worried about spoilage like on the hide and things like that?
Not necessarily. It was pretty cold, but it was wet. So, I mean, there's definitely, quite a bit of concern. And, when we got everything back to camp, we built a tripod out of logs and got everything up off the ground.
Yeah.
How it died, so I guess we could talk about the shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And that day, so like we had gone 5 days without seeing a moose. So the first day, we called in a bull to 15 yards. We're amped out of our mind, and
this is gonna be easy.
Yeah, we're so good at this.
Naturals.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like 7:00. It's dark like about 10. And in Alaska, you can shoot at any time of the day as long as you're not using artificial light. So like our main concern was, we're on a river we never been on.
Can't see through my peep.
Well, yeah, that too. But just navigating the river with our like 15-foot John boat with a jet motor on the back of it.
That's adventure enough.
Yeah, and I mean there's tons of like trees and strainers and sweepers in the water that you don't want to hit. Especially being back there.
You said it had like a sand bottom, the river? So
yeah, it was so sandy and silty.
So you had logs sometimes projecting back against the current, like projectiles.
You hit that, you're gonna rip right through that old boat. And so anyways, we decided we can maybe explore a little bit more upriver. And I mean the very next bend we go around, there's literally a bull just standing there on the bank on the sandbar. So we panic, shut the engine off, look at it, realize it's legal. We're like, okay, what do we do now? We floated down, got the wind right, and I kind of got up on the bank and just started working towards him. And he was he's all rutted up. They're very dopey. So getting up to him, I got within like 35 yards. He winded us. He kind of took off around. It was over, and then just kind of standing there by the boat. I'm like, screw it. I grabbed the oil jug and we started raking. He starts raking back, and he's probably 150, maybe 200 yards away from us. So Tucker grabs the stick, runs back, starts raking, and we ended up calling that bull back in to about 35 yards. And it's so thick along the river bank right there that I couldn't get a shot. He's moving forward. He's kind of getting indecisive. We buggered him up a little bit, so he's not really totally sure. And he goes to cross the river in front of me, and he comes out. I'm at full draw. My pin settles, and he kind of wheels, and he's quartering away. And I just saw so much butt and body that I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get my arrow up through there, up through all that and take the shot. So I decided not to. And the bull kind of just worked away from me to 80 yards and then crossed the river, grunting all the way across. And yeah.
Big old silverback.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how silver they were. I didn't realize that, honestly. So yeah, then after day one, we are to the moon. We're like, we got what we paid for. Me and him are both convinced that, like, that was the coolest thing we've ever experienced. Like, if nothing happens the rest of the week, we're totally satisfied. Like, it was just bananas. That bull that we had at 15 yards, we saw him first. Or I saw him first because I was walking in front of Tucker. I just seen horns like going through the slough, and I'm like, bull. We kind of scoot over. Me and Tucker kind of talk, make a plan. He goes back behind me, and I'm standing in the brush, which is up to my head, and there's like some openings, and behind me is a slough, and he starts raking. So the bull immediately starts raking, and he starts doing the swaying thing, going back and forth and back and forth. And he starts coming in. Well, I'm standing there with nothing behind me but water. And I'm thinking about it, like, this is the scariest thing I've ever done. That thing's huge. I've never seen an Alaskan moose other than in the plain before that. And it was so intimidating. I kind of started to panic for a second. I'm like, if this thing comes in here and wrecks me, I have nothing to hide behind. Tucker and him were raking back and forth for maybe 20 minutes. And every time he'd go to rake, and he's probably only at 60 yards at this point, I just get down on my belly and start crawling over to a set of trees across to the other side. They're like maybe 20 inches apart. I'm like, perfect, he can't fit through here. So that's where I ended up setting up, and he come in perfect broadside. His eyes were like the size of a cue ball, just staring right through you. It was something else.
Pissed.
Yeah, mad, grunting, swaying head. I mean, they come in honestly like they're in a trance. It's super, super weird.
That's
like they're possessed. Honestly, it is crazy to see.
They just go to a different world.
Yeah, completely different.
You think that like they're doing all that raking, psyching herself up with adrenaline?
Yeah, just getting fired. They love it. I mean, seriously, you rake, they're going to rake right away. And then you rake, they rake again. It's a raking battle. It's like a bugle battle, but raking. It's so fun, and you just slap the crap out of it and get fired up, and they're gonna get fired up. It was really cool.
Yeah, that the interaction that would be.
Yeah, I'm so glad we did it the way, like, if we had rifles, like anybody could go do that hunt with rifles, and you're almost guaranteed to shoot a moose. Like, it really, honestly,
it would have been easy.
Yeah, and we would have never experienced the all the really cool things that we did, doing it the way we did.
How moose actually act, you got to like see all that because you didn't get to take a shot.
Really experience it. It was really cool. And so 5 days go by after that, piss and rain, miserable, cold. I mean, I was so cold at night. I had 2 sleeping bags. It was just wet, like that wet cold, hot sweats. We had a little mini wood stove that would only burn for maybe an hour at the most.
Were you burning willow brush?
No, there's spruce.
Okay.
That we were burning, which was kind of the one thing. Like, we got in there, got to camp. The guy dropped us off, and he didn't leave us with a saw or axe or anything to cut up. And we were gonna bring one, right?
Yeah.
He just forgot. It wasn't maybe like a week and a half whenever he finally showed up with a saw for us to cut wood. So we're burning, 2-finger wide size sticks that we were been breaking the whole week.
Oh.
Yeah. So it really didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Just enough for it to get, your stuff kind of dried out and go to bed. Is
it like a little titanium Sikh stove? Like
it's similar. It's a little. It was about the same size.
Okay.
Yeah, but not thick metal by any means. Yeah. Our tent had holes in it, so it'd leak. it was brutal.
And you had super nice Sikh tent at your house.
Yeah, like I could have just brought that.
Oh.
Yeah, but no, they had it all.
I could tell they do by the sound of that.
Yeah, I mean, the outfitter totally had a case of not giving a shit anymore. He's retiring out of it, and we had an awesome time. But yeah, there's definitely some things that really sucked.
You're the guy that makes lemonade out of lemons, though. Anyway, so.
Yeah. So we were fine. We were thriving. But yeah, so yeah, anyways, 5 days pass and me and Tucker are kind of, getting into like, man, are we going to see anything else? It's raining that morning and we set out in the boat. It's so cold. So that's the thing. I have everything that I brought on, like every single thing. Like I'm talking thick, like late season pants with thermal layer, puffy pants and rain jacket and like mitts. I was wearing two baklava, or what are they called?
Baklavas.
Yeah, like on, every hood zipped up tight, like, and you're freezing. So we'd ride about an hour every day upriver and then float back. So we'd row the John boat back.
High humidity.
Different sloughs, and you just would freeze. And it's pouring rain, so the boat ride sucks in the rain. Me and Tucker, were taking turns every day. Whoever had to, steer the boat, and the other person could lay down and hide from the water.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And it's so hard to hike around, and we didn't want to go downstream just because we didn't trust the boat. I mean, his old boat, the guy said it was a new motor, but they just leave it out in the bush, for all year, and like it would randomly shut off sometimes. So we didn't want to have to go downstream and then try to hike back up to camp through all that stuff for miles. But for whatever reason, we decided we were going to go downstream that day, just like one slough or two, maybe a mile. And we ran into some floaters, like to where we were going to go. So we decided to go upstream. I think it was maybe the second slough we went to. It's pouring rain, and I think I started dozing off in that slough. So I would wake up, rake a little bit, and we'd and then listen. If nothing happened in 15 minutes, I'd fall back asleep. So it was just so miserable. And I'm watching Tucker out in front of me, and he said as soon as I like my eyes rolled back in my head, he heard a bull respond. It started raking. He was trying to get my attention because we're sitting maybe 40, 50 yards apart. He's out in front in the open so he can shoot the slough. And he turns around and grunts. And he said my eyes like open up and then roll back. So he's like, oh, we're so screwed right now. Like, this bull's going to come in and I'm not going to be able to, move and kind of draw him past him and whatever. So he kind of starts panicking. I can hear him moving around, and that's what woke me up. And he points, and I still have kind of no idea what's going on. It's been 5 days of doing this calling and nothing's happening.
Just wake up out of
the
the
coma.
coma.
Like, what do you want, dude? Like, I'm wet and cold. I hate it here.
I hate it here.
Like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I heard the bull raking. So I'm like, oh crap, here we go. So I start raking back and forth with this bull, and I can hear him. I'm kind of laying down where I can't see him, but he sounds so close, and he's kind of working out in front of us. And I look at Tucker, and he's in kind of a willow patch, and one of the willow arms grabs his bow out of his hand when he went to move, and he just drops his bow right in the water in front of him. And this bull's probably within 60 yards of us right now. He's in panic mode at this point. And I'm looking at him like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, we got to kill this bull. He's freaking out. He's like pulling the crap off his bow, gets it back up. And this bull comes around, steps out at, I think it's like 48 yards, broadside, staring right at Tucker. I'm like, we're so screwed. He can't draw. Like, he's gonna bugger out. So I kind of crawl back a little bit farther and grab a tree and just start shaking the crap out of it, like as hard as I can. I'm like, hey, I gotta get this bull to look through Tucker and look back at me so that he can draw and shoot. And that bull did, and he turned and started raking. Like I said, like you rake, they rake. That's what that's the game. And he drew back, shoots. And I mean, the arrow, it felt like the arrow was in the air for, hours, just watching it go to him. He hits that thing with like a wild slap. It looked perfect. Bull takes like maybe a 10-yard jump and spits blood out of his nose. And you can see the steam coming out both sides. Like, he got a complete pass through. And it's standing there, I'm in disbelief. Can't believe what just happened. Like, we actually got
Just
an arrow
killed
in
an
one.
Alaskan
Yeah,
giant.
it's like we just got a freaking arrow in one. This is insane. And he kind of starts doing the wobble. I'm like, it's over right then and there. And he kind of gains himself again and starts walking out. And he walked maybe 80 yards. We couldn't see him after maybe 20 yards of that. And you just hear a loud crash. And I'm like, that's it. And I run up to Tucker, and he's just staring at me. I'm staring at him. We're not saying anything. Like, we just freaking smoked one.
That's awesome.
And then the panic sets in, right? Like, I know he drilled it, and Tucker's super cautious. And we waited an hour and a half, before we even went out. Like, we don't know. Like, it's so hard to imagine that this little stick is going to kill this animal that's like 1,600 pounds. It doesn't even look like it would do anything to it. And then the blood trail was super, super light. The only blood we found was where it was coming out of his nose, like where he was breathing heavy.
That giant chest cavity filling
Huge. It took a little bit, but I mean, that bull was died on his feet, just kind of plopped down and splayed down. We tracked him real slow, and finally we seen some birds fly up. The gray jays.
Yeah.
They flew up. The magnitude of the animal really set in whenever we were standing over it, just going, holy crap, what do we do now?
Yeah, I bet.
It took everything for us just to like hold his head. It was crazy. Like, you couldn't turn it, both of us. We couldn't roll it over it. We had to get the 3/4 we could reach off, 2 hinds in the front and a side of the ribs before we could roll it over to get the front shoulder on the right side. We just couldn't move it. And we didn't have, it probably wouldn't have taken us 6 hours, but we didn't have the right tool for getting the ribs off. We just had like a small handsaw, the outdoor edge one that's real skinny, terrible. It, like that moose fat gets on your hands and just slides. Like, Tucker had cuts on his hands so bad while we were doing that.
A little hatchet would have been.
Yeah, hatchet would have been great. And that's what he said, and like we were joking about it. It's like, what's that one book that everyone knows about, Alaska? Like, what's the one thing he had? He had a hatchet. That's the most important
So I
thing.
said hatchet.
Exactly. The hatchet's like, that's what you're supposed to bring when you go to Alaska. That's the only way to survive.
Well, you made it without it.
Yeah. It sucked though.
I hate this place.
It was crazy. And we shot that bull at noon, found him out, about 2, and got everything done cutting up. 8 o'clock. So we had 2 hours before it was dark. So we decided just to move. We just took quarters and kind of shuttled them closer to the boat, and try to find a nice, easy path for us. Got them up on logs so that they can, dry out.
Yeah.
And went back to camp and, came back the next day and did our pack out.
Was you nervous about bears?
Oh, absolutely. You're always nervous about bears. I mean, I'm even nervous in Montana.
Yeah.
And
no place to. I always like finding me looking for a tree. You know what I mean, or something like that.
Yeah.
No trees to climb up there.
No, not really. And so like while thinking of that, tried to find the most open spot that you can see from a distance, and it was like kind of up on a hill, so like you could come in and kind of circle around, just double check. You're listening at for the birds and
looking for tracks.
Just paying attention a little bit. Just talking to each other. Just being cautious about it. Rather than terrified.
Truly living.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, what's it like coming back here now? It's like feel weird. Like, just like being in civilization again. Like, the common necessities is right there at your hand.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly enough, like, that's not the longest I've done, like, in the wilderness and stuff like that. So
no, but I mean far out, like your plane not coming back.
Like so like that sucked. They basically left us back there, like, oh, we'll get you when we can get you now.
At least in Montana, you could like hike out. Like there, you're
there's no way. So like we were 250 some miles from Fairbanks in a float plane ride, and I think the closest town, which it really seems like a village, honestly. The only way in is by plane, was like 45 miles from us. Like, plane or boat is the only other way into there. There's no roads.
We're talking some like Hugh Glass shit. If it gets adventurous,
Yeah.
you gotta go out 250 miles.
You're seriously in the middle of nowhere.
That's-
So like that was definitely really cool, because like I've been in, you know, some deep wildernesses before,
Yeah.
and that's just like, I don't know. Everyone always talks about, you know, when the plane leaves, that's when you get nervous, and I never really felt that.
Okay.
I don't know. Those type of settings feel normal to me.
Yeah.
By now it feels like you're back to what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It really is awesome.
So you almost didn't survive coming out.
Yeah, so I'm not a good flyer to begin with. Like, and I've flown on planes, been in helicopters, been in open cockpit biplanes before in my life, and I mean, I'm terrified always, no matter what. Even on, you know, like a nice, easy, calm day on a, you know, Boeing 747, the whole time, like, we're dead, we're all gonna die. I'm terrified. So the flight in, super calm, mellow. You know, we're so jacked up. It's like 2.5 hour flight. Feels like 10 minutes. You know, because I'm just staring out the window, laughing. There was one instance where I kind of got a little spooked. So Tucker was talking to the pilot, and he was talking about how, you know, bringing sled dogs in, and sometimes they fight, right? You know, like there's going to be a dog in heat if you have pack of dogs, you know, pack of hounds, whatever. And he's like, well, what do you do if there's a bunch of dogs loose in the back of your plane? Like, it's got to be difficult. And, you know, I'm just smiling, looking out the window at a rainbow, not paying attention. He's like, you know, he just says you got to give him a little, you know, negative G's, and just dumps the plane straight down. It feels like you're on a roller coaster. And I wasn't paying attention. And I just kicked the back of the pilot's seat, you know, look at Tucker. Tucker looks back. He's like, that's what your face would look like if you knew we were going down. And then leaving, we had some pretty good weather, you know, some turbulence. We take off and it's pretty bumpy, and the guy's like, yeah, it's going to be pretty, you know, it's going to be pretty rough if you get, you know, motion sickness. This is going to be the flight that you're going to get it on. And I normally do pretty good with the motion sickness. Tucker, on the other hand, does not. You know, we're flying out. You know, it's taking a lot longer because the wind's whipping so bad. I'm terrified, like, with a little bit of turbulence to begin with, right? So the whole time I'm pretty nervous. I'm just, you know, trying to make conversation to the pilot to keep my mind off of everything.
Asking for the maintenance log.
Yeah. But, you know, 30-year-old plane with dents in it, you know, and like, you never really think, like, why does the plane have dents in it? Like, what's he hitting?
Dude, just give us a tent that had holes in it.
Yeah. But, so... Anyways, like, anytime you go over, like, the passes and whatnot, the turbulence really kicks in. So the plane would just randomly completely flip sideways. And then, you know, he'd level it out and whatever. We hit a fog bank at one point, and someone started screaming over the intercom, you know what I mean? And there's really not many times, like, that you're going to be screaming over the intercom that you're going down, unless you're going down. So... You know, that happens, and Pod's like, oh, someone's screaming, you know, like, trying to change the subject. Proceeds to tell us that his buddy had crashed earlier that day due to the turbulence. And then we hit a fog bank, and he turns around and is like, this isn't good. And so I'm like, we're dead, you know, at this point. I'm having the, you know, the absolute worst time of my life. I'm gripping the bottom of the back seat, praying to every god I can think of. You know what I mean? Like, and poor Tucker is turning green in the front, just trying not to puke on himself or the plane. When we landed, I was ready to kiss the ground. It was so terrifying.
I'm not going now.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the risk, you know what I mean? Like, you know, death before dishonor, you always like to say.
Can we walk there?
It's a long walk.
That would freak me out so bad.
I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I was dead. Guaranteed. Like, we were crashing this thing.
So did you find out who crashed? What went down?
Yeah, we had actually talked to him, like, on our... he lived. He was fine.
Okay.
Just hit some trees on the way down, broke the wings off.
Yeah, smoked a couple of trees in a plane.
Yeah. But, yeah, we had talked to him. Just he's like, yeah, he's only got 200 hours or something, so he's pretty inexperienced. And So shit happens. I mean, it's like crashing your bike there. It just happens.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, like, honestly, after that, and it probably, like, I'm just being a giant puss, it probably was fine, but in my head it wasn't, and it was terrifying.
Well, I'm the type of guy that I get my hand held by the little old lady in the back of the plane flying to Denver.
You go experience that in, like, any other plane ride, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alaska's a whole different beast. It is truly miserable. If you didn't go there with a purpose, there's really no point to live there. I get why it's the highest suicide rate.
High suicide.
It is?
It is.
I get it.
We've been just back here subpar hunting.
Yeah.
And you guys been crushing it. I mean, like, that kept the spirits high here, and everyone was doing really well. Just like a great elk season. And it seems like it is just everywhere this year for whatever reason. Everybody's been having fun.
Yeah. Seriously, I can't complain. It's been amazing so far. We've probably the best year anybody's had in a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's having that type of year. I don't know what's causing it. I've sat and I've had long conversations with my dad. I don't know. It's just interesting to ponder on.
I have an idea.
Go on. Elaborate.
You remember the herds of spikes we'd seen last year?
Yeah.
Seems like there's just a lot of younger bulls that are kind of coming into that age of maturity that I think is just kind of we're getting more competition because of them going around with the other bulls as well. We are shooting quite a few of them.
Oh yeah, that's all we've shot.
Right, but not saying we haven't had great opportunities and misses at the bigger ones as well. I just think we're kind of getting that type of rut that you normally get in a higher bull density area. Just because there's so many younger bulls going around kind of messing with them. It's my theory.
So I'll buy that on the bugling and the carrying on, but the elk sign, dude, there's elk sign on ridges that I haven't seen elk sign on in a lot of years. Like the amount, like there's always a couple tracks, elk in there, but
do you think it could be all kinds of different things combined into one too? And
that's what I've come up with.
We've had the wolves come in over however many years, and things change, and stuff fluctuates back and forth. But in the last year or so, we've been able to kill more lions out of this area, and guys have been trapping and trying to trap and kill wolves as well. Maybe we're kind of at a steady number with that, and we've put a little bit more of a hurting on some of the cats. There's a possibility that elk might be hanging around a little bit more, or being able to get through their life as a calf and make it and just have a little bit more numbers.
I've seen a ton of spikes. I've seen a lot of calves. That's the name of the game. I mean, for our future.
Yeah, honestly.
I don't think there's as many dudes in the woods. I've sat and talked with Logan about it. On a couple of rides back, we had to ride in the bed of the pickup, and I've been astonished to just get into the elk every day.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks we were into all sorts of different size bulls, but this past week, I think every single guide has been on one of the big herd bulls.
That's another thing too. We have a hell of a crew.
That's what I was wanting.
That was the last podcast. We were like, they're scouring the
That's
land.
probably why we're getting into so many elk.
We got some hungry dudes out there that want to get things killed, and that makes a difference, man. I mean, and not that we hadn't, in the past couple of years, we absolutely have, but just this set of guys are hungry.
So this is what I've hunted with guys of equal caliber of hunting, but I have not hunted with a crew that can get opportunities and soft touch an area, and you can go back in there and send another guide back in there and keep the elk aren't call shy. We haven't boogered stuff up. That's the part that's amazing. And being a guide and you have to rehunt the same country.
It makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Do you know how many weeks over the past years that I've just sat on ridges or walked the feet clear off your client just trying to hear one bugle?
Well, and what was our biggest tactic last year, talking about it, we were almost miserable to the point where we're just hunting quiet elk, right?
Yeah.
Silent elk. We just want to go after the quiet elk because that's all we could do. They weren't talking.
No, yeah, that's right. We were making jokes about it.
You know what I mean?
But some days they have been quiet. We've been able to get in there and just get in close enough that they respond back, and then it just starts. Only in a few canyons have they been like bugling through the middle of the day, which that makes the game so much easier because then you can play the wind and keep like fighting in there and get cutting the ground. But we've had a lot of cloud cover and the wind has been killing us. You get in there tight and then all of a sudden the wind starts shifting around and you're like, oh, you get nervous about how tight you want to get because you can't play it.
Right.
And then he's
can't.
not bugling on his own, and you're like, you don't want to give up your position. So there has been a little bit of that, but that's where the quality of the hunter and the guides come in. That we've been fortunate on that too.
Yeah.
Our clients have been some hunting some of the guns. Being able to get to the elk is like half the battle because we knew where you most of the time as a guide know where you can go get into elk,
right.
But if you can get the guy there and then get him back out.
Yeah, we were running into that a little bit this week.
Yeah, but
we did. The last day we ran right into that.
oh, they hit a wall. But most people, that's what you should. I told them.
Yeah, if you're not leaving miserable, ready to go back to work for a break,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you didn't hunt hard.
Not everybody wants to hunt like that, but that's how we want to hunt, and that's the type of people that we're looking to take hunting. If you're looking for that, well, you get your fill. Guys they've been enjoying their time.
Yep.
Wes sat on the mountain. I thought he was gonna cry as it was getting dark yesterday. I was like, dude, I'm sorry you didn't get an elk, but that's just elk hunting. And he's like, no, it's not that at all. I don't want to leave. He's like, seriously, this is so much fun chasing these things. Like just being in the game every day.
Do you guys kind of feel like the one client cracked me up? He was like, it's like you guys are drug dealers or something. And like they were all new into elk hunting. And then you guys showed them like bugling sessions and like craziness. And 3 people almost got ran over by bulls this week. And it was just like action packed. And then they're like, we're fully addicted.
Yeah, it's called chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
Isn't that also a drug term?
that is a drug term.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't referencing anything else. That's just a drug term.
Oh, I thought you were talking about bulls.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a new T-shirt. Chase the dragon.
Oh, well, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, that was part of my pep talk. That big old bull was screaming down in there, and I looked at Wes, and I was like, you can't be a dragon slayer if you didn't get in front of a dragon's face.
Yep. You got to go into his castle where he's locked up and defeat him.
I was like, he can hear us up there. He's just telling us to come down and get something.
Yep.
It's hard to tell the guides the stories because we were in and out so late that I can't recall even hardly what happened, besides they were good days for him.
I just remember it was action-packed. The only one I do really remember is Logan's clients coming right into that 6x7, and we have a video of it. He has yet to send it to me. He got a really good video. That bull was beautiful, wide, 6x7, heavy, perfect bull.
Freaking Forosaurus.
And it's still alive.
I can tell Josh's story for this week probably pretty well. Second to last day, they've been chasing a bull. Everyone else has been killing stuff. He knows I'm out on a great adventure, and he's just like, and they ended up shooting a buck real late. He's like, I gotta make an adventure for myself now, and I'm gonna not text my wife or anybody and tell them that we're not coming back until 5 a.m.
Yes.
We're gonna do a survival.
I did have Josh's
he's got one of the apprentices with him, so he's like, I want to scare him a little bit and show him how much of a man I am. We're gonna skin this deer and sleep in its hide.
It had too many ticks, or I had thought about that.
Am I close?
It is exact.
Or it might just be the dick.
No, it is exact.
I mean, there was things that happened that kind of tilted it towards an adventure like that, and I just let it happen. I could have easily steered us to the easy trail, but I was like, I would shoot that deer for sure. It'd be a great idea.
It's gonna be a long one tonight.
It was an epic adventure. This will just fall right in really good. So he shoots that deer. He tells me, I made a good shot, double lungs. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we're still going to wait a half an hour, even on a whitetail.
Right.
At least a half an hour. But he's killed a pile of whitetail. I figured he's telling me the truth. I start telling him horror stories about jumping animals, listening to clients tell me where they shot them.
Yep.
Instead of reading the sign and not getting a false expectation so you don't jump it. Walk 40 yards and jump that stupid thing up, and it runs into the abyss. Down into the canyon we just come out of. That's why we were so late. But you can't, if you do like listen to where they say that they shot it, you start reading the sign differently because you're like, you still like in the back of your mind are like trying, how did it bleed there?
Yeah, and most of the time we don't see it. We almost never get to see the shot, especially during the archery season. Rifle is different, but
well, with the new bow, you can't even hear the shot anymore.
Right,
dude. The lift?
Yeah, the Matthews lift. They're so quiet.
Holy cow! Yeah, the apprentice had to tell me that the bow went off. I couldn't hear it.
Yeah, but that also can, has something to do with us needing hearing aids.
Honestly, I don't think one of our guides has good
How do you
hearing.
think Josh goes in and finds the elk? He takes an apprentice with him and asks him
Yes.
which way did that bugle come from.
Yes, we know.
Figuring this out.
I'm not stupid.
I can't. If they do that deep grunt at the end of it, dude, I can't tell where that's out. Now, if you got one that's real, I can tell that direction.
So you can hear more high-pitched noises still. You're just, the lows or what's trouble.
Because my left ear, I guess from shooting guns.
It's the guns going off without us knowing that they're going to go off, and clients shooting deer when we're just looking at them. And
There's not a guy that's did this for very long that hasn't did the over the shoulder.
Yeah, you never, especially when you're like walking a logging road or something that's just fast. Like your client, can't hit the broadside of a barn on the bench. So you gotta give them a rest, and you gotta put the rifle over your shoulder and
take it like a man.
Yeah, and just try to hold it as still as you can and. Trying to flinch too bad when that muzzle goes off.
Use me as a block.
Exactly.
That's that meme where the guy's laying on his back and he's holding his legs and the gun's resting between his butt.
6'5" Creedmoor shooters.
Dude, rifle's not too far away.
I know. It's weird. I haven't elk hunted one bit this year. I'm looking forward to doing it the next 2 weeks.
All right, I think we got everyone caught up. We had a lot of misses, a lot of opportunities. And we're still at about 80%.
All right.
Watch your top knot.
Yep. Can't cheat the mountain pilgrim. Over and out.